Live from your local election headquarters at the 22 News Broadcast Center, this is an Agawam Mayoral Forum. And now, here's Rich Teddemer.
Good afternoon and welcome to a special Your Election Headquarters presentation. I am Rich Teddemer. All this week, 22 News has hosted a series of forums featuring candidates running for mayor in local cities. And today it's the candidates running for mayor of Agawam. The town is choosing a new mayor after incumbent Bill Cecilia decided not to run for re-election this year. We're joined in studio by city councilors Christopher Johnson and Cecilia Calabrese. We begin with opening statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute to make that opening statement. The order was determined by a drawing before the program, and Cecilia Calabrese, you get to go first.
Thank you, Rich, and thanks to everyone watching at home. My name is Cecilia Calabrese, and I ask for your vote to be Agawam's next mayor. My husband and I chose Agawam to start our businesses and to raise our family. And as your city councilor, I have an 18-year track record of fighting against increases in taxes and fees. And I have the fresh ideas I know that you're looking for with the experience to get things done, but I can't do it without you. So on November 7th, I humbly and respectfully ask for your vote to be Agawam's next mayor.
Thank you to Cecilia. And Chris Johnson, you have your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Thank you to Channel 22 for putting on the debate and forum this afternoon. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm a lifelong resident of Agawam, a graduate of Agawam High School. I currently am senior partner at a law firm in West Springfield, Johnson, Sclafani, and Moriarty. I'm running for mayor simply because I love Agawam. I've spent my entire life there, raised my family. My two children are graduates of the Agawam Public Schools, and I want to make Agawam the best place to live, work, and raise a family. I was fortunate enough to be Agawam's first mayor. I've also served as city solicitor, chair of the school committee, and currently serve as president of the Agawam City Council. I work well with my fellow councilors, and I've worked tremendously well with Mayor Bill Cecilia. I'm asking for your support, but more importantly, I'm asking no matter which of the candidates you're going to support, please, everybody in Agawam, go out and vote on Tuesday, November 7th. It's important. Your vote counts much more in a local election than it does in a state or federal election. Again, thank you very much for hosting this. Look forward to sharing our ideas.
All right, candidates, we'll move on to our question and answer portion of the program. I'll ask each candidate the same question, and then each candidate has 1 minute to respond. There's no time set aside for rebuttal. Let's go to the first question, which by virtue of the drawing, Chris Johnson will answer first. Chris, Agawam's high school building is more than 60 years old, and a special committee is working through the process of potentially building a new high school for the town or making renovations and additions to the existing building. As mayor, would you be a member of this school building committee, and how would you approach this project?
Yeah, as mayor, I would be a member of the school building committee. We're in the middle of the Mass School Building Authority process. I believe that the alternate that will end up coming out of that process will be the construction of a new school, because frankly, I believe that will be less expensive than attempting to renovate the school that we have. The town has maintained our high school very well over the years, but the difficulty is it was built primarily in the 1950s and then added on to in the 80s and 90s. And frankly, it just doesn't meet the current codes, but whether it's energy, electrical, so forth, and it doesn't meet current MSBA requirements. So I strongly support the project. One of the main reasons why I'm running for mayor is to hopefully have that project get its fair shake with the residents of Agawam, because it's been over 70 years since we built the high school, and I think in order to be competitive in the Pioneer Valley, we need to build a new one.
Cecilia, your answer, please.
I absolutely would be involved on the school building committee, and I do support the construction of a new school building. It's very important, though, that we make sure that we're getting the best value for our tax dollars, and that's going to come in the form of reimbursement from the Commonwealth, as well as, of course, our funding of the project. It makes sense for us to be building a new high school because that's going to be our best option at getting reimbursement from the Commonwealth. And again, as mayor, it's going to be my job to make sure we're getting the best value for our tax dollars.
Okay, Cecilia, you get the next question first. The Agawam Police Department headquarters is also an aging facility, and the City Council, of which you both are members, approved plans last year to convert the former Insurance Center of New England property on Route 75 into a new police station for the town. As mayor, What would you do to oversee this major project, and what are your other public safety priorities for the town?
I've actually already taken a hand in that particular project. We do have the building of the new police station underway. I've had some conversations with police chief and with some of the patrolmen to see what else we need to do to provide proper public safety in an effective and cost-efficient manner to the residents of Agawam. And very hands-on. I have police in my family, and so I have a little bit of an inside scoop as to what we're going to need to have to make sure that we're effective, and again, develop a plan, a project, a building, and services and equipment that gets the best value for our tax dollar.
Chris, your answer, please.
I strongly support both Councilor Calabrese and I voted for the funding to convert the building for the new police headquarters. They just signed the contract and the project is just getting underway. I obviously have experience from my prior tenure as mayor overseeing major construction projects, the renovation and additions to the 4 elementary schools, and the last major addition to the high school. I strongly support public safety. Behind public education, public safety is the most important thing that local government does. I obviously want to look at trying to make sure we can continue to attract quality police officers to work in Agawam, and that we make sure that we're implementing the latest in technology to make their jobs as effective as possible. Obviously, we want to always have a mind towards keeping our investment as minimal as possible so we can be as fair as possible to the residents and businesses who pay taxes. But obviously, when 911 is called, we want to make sure we have top quality police, fire, and emergency medical services responding.
Okay, Chris Johnson, you get the next question first, and I'm sensing a theme right here. Agawam's Town Hall is more than 100 years old, lacks accessibility for people with disabilities, and is not centrally located. Would you support construction of a new town hall? And if so, where would you like to see it constructed, and how would the town pay for it?
I would support, obviously, building a new town hall facility. In my first tenure as mayor, I worked in that building for over 10 years, so I know what its limitations are. Beyond the physical limitations of the building aging and without central air conditioning and its antiquated heating system and so forth and so on, it is laid out in a manner that won't allow the town, in my humble opinion, to look at a reasonable chance of reorganizing our departments so that we can be more efficient. Right now, they're all in separate offices, separated. I believe I've been in other town and city hall facilities where reorganization is possible and we can get commonality so that a person working in one office may be able to help out in another office and not just be stuck based upon the physical barriers of where they are. But as you said, there's no handicap accessibility. The building's nearing 100 years old. It's time for the town to invest.
Cecilia, your answer, please.
Well, we've already got 2 very expensive capital improvement projects on the books right now with the new police station and the new high school coming down. And it's really unfortunate that there were so many missed opportunities for land acquisition and for us to have a central town hall and possibly even combined with a public safety complex more centrally located. I think what we need to do is take a look at our existing buildings, our existing municipal buildings. The soon-to-be former police station might be an opportunity where we can possibly reorganize some of our offices, some of our departments. I just think it's really unfair at this particular point in time to expect the people of Agawam to pay for a new police station, a new high school, and then a new town hall at this point in time.
Okay, Cecilia, you get the next question. We go from old buildings to affordable ones here. The cost of housing has increased dramatically in the years since the pandemic. Whether you buy or rent, many people are struggling to find a new affordable place to live and even stay in their current homes. While an affordable new housing complex is coming to the Mill Street area, what else can be done to help Agawam residents who are struggling with high housing costs?
Oh boy, quality of life and affordability is really key, not only for our families, but for our senior population, what I call our precious generation. So I think what we need to do is look at things like the Walnut Street corridor. is that a location that makes sense for us to expand some housing options, maybe having some mixed use options? We also need to look at our zoning laws. Maybe we need to expand the availability of ancillary dwellings or smaller size residences. I think that there's an infinite possibility of options so that we can make sure that the people, especially our seniors, that have spent their whole lives here in Agawam, they want to retire in Agawam, they should be able to have the affordable quality of life in Agawam.
Chris, your answer, please.
The two critical needs housing-wise that I think we have is seniors who have spent, their adult life in Agawam who want to downsize and stay in town and live the rest of their lives here, finding affordable housing for them, and the young people who were born and raised and went through the Agawam Public Schools and now are out looking for their first home opportunities and simply can't afford to stay in Agawam and are forced to go to communities with lower priced housing. Fortunately, I think they're finally getting the message at the state level, and there's a lot of creative programs that are coming down from Boston that will hopefully allow things like starter homes that are smaller in size. The trade-off is perhaps you allow a little more density of development, but you get a smaller home size, which will hopefully lead to affordable housing opportunities for young people. And on the other side of it, we were fortunate that we have now one 55 and older condominium in town, the Villas, which is a magnificent place, but we need an affordable option. And again, the state is offering some incentives for communities to look at doing those kinds of things.
Okay, candidates, we're at the halfway point of our debate today, our forum. We're going to take a short break, and then after that, we'll have more questions and answers for the candidates running for mayor of Agawam. You're watching a special Your Election Headquarters presentation right here on 22 News.
This is an Agawam Mayoral Forum. And now, here's Rich Teddemer.
Welcome back. Today, 22 News is hosting a forum among the candidates running for mayor of Agawam. We're joined by city councilors Christopher Johnson and Cecilia Calabrese, who are running to replace incumbent Mayor Bill Cepelli, who is not running for re-election. And we continue with our questions for the candidates. And Chris Johnson, gets to answer the next question first. Most Agawam residents receive sewer services from town, but that's not the case in Feeding Hills. Sewer expansion has been talked about in Feeding Hills for years, but hasn't gotten far. As mayor, would you make it a priority? And if so, how would the town pay for the expansion of service?
The difficulty is simple. In order to bring sewers to the southwest section of Agawam and Feeding Hills, the estimated cost right now would be in excess of $100,000 for every residence that would be served. The last major sewer expansion that happened in Agawam was in the 1980s, when the federal government was providing communities with 90+% reimbursement for sewer expansion. That's when we did the Phase 3 and Phase 4 projects in Agawam. There was a smaller project that was done about 20 years ago. The simple reality is there isn't enough density of development in that section of town to warrant the installation of sewers. And the cost would be prohibitive. It would cause our sewer rates to double or triple in order to bring sewers to that section of Agawam. Beyond that, it's the section now that is has the most open space. And if you brought sewers, you'd see a boom in development in that area.
Cecilia, your answer, please.
Yes. Well, you know, we've seen reports going back as far as the 1980s about the groundwater situation out there, especially in the Bradford Drive neighborhood. And the people in that area have been asking for sewers for decades. I know 2 years ago there was some talk about maybe using some ARPA money that was coming into the Commonwealth, and that just never happened. So what we need to do is work with the residents up there, take a look, see what the really needs are. I know that there was some talk about maybe doing some community-based septic type of a system. But the people up there, they really need, they're asking for this relief. And the fact that it's not densely populated, I think, is sort of has to do with the fact that we don't have the sewers up there. And we need to get the people in that area the relief that they're looking for.
Okay, Cecilia, you get the next question first. Having good quality roads and sidewalks is a priority for residents in every community, and Agawam is no exception. What would you do as mayor to make sure that the town's roads and sidewalks are maintained and improved?
Oh, goodness. I've been doing that for quite a while now. What I tend to do is I go into neighborhoods where I don't live. So I've been up into, for example, Valentine Street. I physically go and I take a look and I see what's there. I talk to the people in the residents in those neighborhoods to see what they're looking for. They're looking for sidewalks on different sections of North Street. So, you know, I am a very hands-on type of city councilor, and I would be a very hands-on type of mayor. As mayor, it would be my job to solve problems and to work with the community and to bring back more Chapter 90 money into our community, which is the formula that's used for state reimbursement for infrastructure, roads and sidewalks. And we cannot ignore the infrastructure of internet. We need to be looking at options that include not only fiber, but with wireless internet as well. That's a vital part of our infrastructure as well.
Chris, your answer, please.
Relative to streets and sidewalks, we on the City Council have more than doubled the amount of money that we appropriate for street and sidewalk repair over the last 5 or 6 years. In addition, we undertook about 6 or 7 years ago a major initiative to accept a bunch of unaccepted streets so that their road miles, if you will, would be added into the state formula so we would get more Chapter 90 money back. But the reality is it's all part of infrastructure investment, and that's something that we need to continue to do, not only streets and sidewalks, but our water and sewer system. Also, we're fortunate to have GoNetspeed coming into town, hopefully to offer internet alternatives. But the reality is that affects directly the quality of life for residents in Agawam, and we need to make sure we have good quality streets, sidewalks, and that our water and sewer systems are reliable, and that's where having the investment up front and moving forward is important.
All right, Chris, you get the next question first. There's been talk for years about revitalizing the Wall Street extension area, and while there's been development going on at the site of the former Agawam Motor Lodge on nearby Suffield Street, the old Games and Lanes property remains a large vacant lot. What would you do to try to attract development to this commercial part of town?
We on the council a number of years ago rezoned that area, the Walnut Street extension area, to allow mixed use. which would be commercial or industrial on the first floor and residential above. Unfortunately, the games and lanes piece had some significant environmental problems. Felt bad for the old Standard Uniform Company that spent significant sums of money attempting to clean the property up, only to be told by DEP that what they didn't work. So at this point, I know personally, because I met last week with a potential developer that's looking at that site, and I know from speaking with Mayor Cepelli earlier this week that there's a second developer potentially looking at that site. But essentially, the town has done its part to rezone the property for mixed use. Now it's a question of trying to attract a quality developer to come in to revitalize that area.
Cecilia?
Absolutely. This is what I was speaking about earlier, is working in that Walnut Street corridor about developing some mixed-use housing and commercial there. We need to make sure that the developers know that that property is available, that the town is willing to sit down, almost in like a roundtable type of a session where they can meet with the planning department, with the building department, and inspection services, to make sure that they can get all of their questions answered up front early on so that we can move forward in an expedited fashion.
All right, Cecilia, you get the next question first. The safety of pedestrians and cyclists and other vulnerable road users is a concern in communities across Massachusetts, including in Agawam. What do you think Agawam needs to do in order to minimize crashes and increase safety?
Oh my goodness. So what we need to do is first of all, consider the speed limits that we have throughout our town. There are some stretches of road that maybe it makes sense for us to not only reduce maybe by 5 or 10 miles the allowable speed limit, but also to encourage more patrols of traffic patrols and enforcement of our traffic laws here in Agawam. I think we've done a good job with the bike lanes that we have in place. Some of the bike lanes, I'm really impressed to see how people are using them responsibly. We need to encourage people that are walking to actually use the sidewalks, because we've invested a lot of money in constructing those sidewalks. But I think that we need to definitely have an emphasis on our traffic enforcement.
Chris, your answer, please.
Agawam's been fortunate. We've invested significantly in redoing the intersection in Feeding Hill Center, redoing the intersection at O'Brien's Corner, redoing the intersection down by Rockies. So those improvements have made pedestrian safety, much better. We've also, the City Council recently appropriated money to put signalized crosswalks in at Suffield and Silver Street, and we're exploring now the concept of the solar-powered crosswalk warning lights, especially in the area by Agawam High School, where for a lot of functions and events that go on at the high school, people park across the street in the church and they walk across Mill Street. So we're looking at that. We're in line hopefully to get some state funding to do that, but we also have to look at the concept of putting some local funding in place, maybe setting aside part of our Chapter 90 money to look at those solar-powered crosswalks, because that makes pedestrian safety a priority.
Okay, Chris, you get the next question first. And both of our candidates today have many years of service to the town of Agawam in elected office. What do you think your particular set of experiences best qualifies you to lead the town over the next 2 years?
I have a track record. I was fortunate enough to serve as Agawam's first mayor, spent a little more than a decade in office. I left when my daughter was born. Couldn't make that choice between going out to a meeting versus being able to see my daughter after work. I've stayed involved since I left the mayor's office. I was fortunate to serve as city solicitor and as a member of the council, and currently serving as president of the council. So I have the hands-on experience and the educational background that on day one, I know what the job is. I've done it before. I'll be able to perform as mayor from the moment I take office if the people see fit. I just ask you to consider both the candidates for mayor, and again, as I said earlier, please just go vote on November 7th.
Cecilia?
So, yeah, I've been on the city council for 18 years now. 9 times the people of Agawam have elected me to the city council. But beyond my service on the City Council, I am the only candidate in this race that has every one of my businesses located right here in Agawam. And also, I went the extra step of getting involved in an organization called the Massachusetts Municipal Association. And what that is it's essentially a lobbying group of the elected officials from the 351 cities and towns across Massachusetts that worked with our legislatures and with the administration to come up with policies and procedures that benefit the people of our community. That organization recognized my leadership and elected me as president of the MMA. And this was during a time during COVID. And through my leadership, I was able to secure vaccines here in Agawam before other communities so that we can offer those vaccines to the first responders and to our seniors. And thank you so much.
Hey, we have one last question. You have 30 seconds to respond. Cecilia, start.
All right.
School districts across the country have been struggling to hire new teachers and retain the teachers they have. What do you think Agawam needs to do in order to ensure quality educators come to town for work and keep the good teachers that the school district already has?
Oh my goodness, so we need a spirit of cooperation, which I think we've actually fostered pretty well between parents and teachers. We have pride in our community. We have an amazing quality of life. And I really implore anyone who's watching this that is considering a teaching career to come to Agawam.
Chris Johnson, your answer, please.
Education is the most important thing that we do in local government. I think to try to attract and keep our teachers, we have to show them as leaders of the community that education is our top priority, that how we educate our children is the most important service that we provide. And you do that by trying to make sure that you offer fair wages and benefits, that you give them the support in the classroom that they need by way of materials and technology, and things like the high school project to show that we care about the children of Agawam by investing in the infrastructure.
Okay, candidates, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much to City Councilors Chris Johnson and Cecilia Calabrese for participating today. If you missed any of today's program or any of our local mayoral forums, they're available for viewing on our website at wwlp.com. Election Day is Tuesday, November 7th. I'm Rich Tadimer. Have a great afternoon. See ya.